everybody, and welcome to Teen Tuesday. This week, we are making braided leather zipper pulls or key rings or hand straps, whatever purpose you'd like to put it to. In the bag of supplies from the library, there should be 2 pieces of leather laces. Don't worry, it's not real leather. No animals were harmed in the making of this project. A little piece of embroidery thread, a wooden and a cardstock kumihimo pattern, and a key ring and 2 jump rings. To complete this project, you will also need a pair of scissors and needle nose pliers. Optional, but useful, you may choose to use a ruler. You can use the ruler to ensure that all of your pieces of string are the same length. Since the kumihimo ring was made on the laser cutter here in the library, the laser may not have completely cut through the wood in all of the places, so optionally a piece of sandpaper could be useful for taking off any splinters or smoothing out the edges on your ring. You may also decide to take a piece of paper towel and run it through the grooves around the edge of your ring. Again, since it was made on the laser cutter, there may be some sooty residue left behind. The cardstock ring is for you to use as a beyond this project activity. This ring was specifically designed with our thick leather straps in mind. You could also use it with thick material like some yarn or paracord or satin cord, but it wouldn't work very well with anything that's much thinner. You need to keep the strings very tight while you're working with them so you don't develop weird bulges in your braid. So something like this doesn't work if you're going to be making a friendship bracelet, for instance, out of embroidery thread. That's what this one is good for. You can also find patterns that have a lot more complicated designs than what we're going to be doing today if you search for kumihimo patterns online. For this one, you can cut it out, or even better, glue it to a piece of cardboard and then cut it out and use this with your thin materials like embroidery thread. Okay, so let's look at our leather laces now. We're going to cut these to size. The first thing to do, if you're going to be making a loop like mine, I would recommend cutting 12 inches off of the end of one or both of your strings. This is going to be something that we're going to wrap around the end to secure the 2 pieces, to secure the loop, really, in an attractive way. I would suggest cutting it off of both just so that you have equal length, and in case you like one better than the other when you get to the end. So let's go ahead and cut 12 inches off. And if you don't have a ruler, what you can do is hold it against your wrist, and from your wrist to your elbow is generally about a foot. Yeah, just a little bit over, which is fine. So cut that. And set that aside until the end. Now, take the rest of your string, and we need 4 pieces to complete this braid. So that means we're going to need to cut each piece of leather into 2 pieces. So put the 2 ends together, put the other 2 ends together, put all 4 ends together, and cut there. Then you'll have 4 equal length pieces. Voila. 4 equal length pieces. Take your piece of embroidery thread and cut it in half. Now, come closer and I'll show you how to set up the beginning of our ring. We have now 2 pieces of the leather laces, or 1 piece that's about 12 inches long, the key ring, 2 jump rings, the kumihimo ring, our small short piece of thread, the long leather laces, and our needle nose pliers. To get this started, take a look at your 2 jump rings, the large closed ring, set that one aside with the 12-inch laces until the end. we're going to be using this jump ring with the keychain and the string to get our first part of our kumihimo braid started. So take your leather laces, line up the ends and fold it in half so you find the center of your strings. Take that extra little piece of thread that you have and tie it around that center point nice and tight. We will cut this piece off later, so it doesn't matter what color it is or anything. We're just using it to secure the beginning of our knots, okay? Now, take the jump ring and we're going to place it around those 4 strands right here where the string is. If it makes it easier, feed them through somewhere further down and then slide it up to where your tied string is. Attach the chain for your key ring and close the jump ring. All right. Those threads out of the way. Now we don't have to think about that again for a little while. Instead, we're going to take our strings, we're going to feed them through the middle here, pull them up, and we're going to get these lined up on our ring. So remember that piece of thread that you tied on there? That should be in the very middle of the circle hole. Take 2 strings. They can be the same color or they can be different colors. Depending on how you choose, they will form a different pattern. So we're going to put them 2 pieces together on opposite ends of our ring, basically forming an X, right, with the knotted string in the middle. Make sure that stays nicely in the middle. And we're going to form this sort of shape. All right. It's important as we're working with it that these strings stay nice and tight so that they don't have too much, it's not too loose here in the middle. If it's loose in the middle, it's going to form weird bulgy spaces in your braid. So it's good to keep them nice and taut. Okay, so looking more closely at what we've got, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of string paired together in 4 parts. Make sure you orient it so that you've got some that are directly pointing towards and away from you, and the other pair are going to the left and the right. Take the bottom left string and cross it to the top, just to the left of the leftmost string. Now, take the string on the top right and bring it down to the right of the string on the bottom. That's step number 1. Rotate 90 degrees so that the other 2 are now pointing to and from you. And repeat. Take that left bottom string, push it up to the top left. Take the right top string and bring it down to the bottom right. And that's our pattern. Basically, just repeat that over and over and over again. So turn 90 degrees, bottom left to top left, top right to bottom right. As you're working, it's better to do this like over your lap so that you don't end up with a terrible tangle of strings underneath. Doing it on the table is going to be difficult for me. All right, turn 90 degrees. Left bottom to left top, right top to right bottom. Turn again. Bottom left to top left, top right to bottom right. And I alternate my hands here just as a reminder of what I'm doing. So bottom left to top right to bottom right. I know that if I'm holding it in my right hand, then I need to go to the right hand side. And if I'm holding it in my left hand, I need to go to the left hand side. And turn. Bottom left to top left. Top right to bottom right. If you need to put this down and walk away and come back later, if you look and see which strings have crossed most recently on the top, make sure that when you pick it up again, those strings that have crossed over most recently are in the left and right position. So I moved down here because my laces kept getting knotted together when I was working up on the table. So just continuing that pattern, bottom left to top right to bottom right, turn, bottom left to top right to bottom right. And after you've done a few of these, you can turn it up and see what's happening underneath. You've got this really cool spiral going on. Nice. Okay, so I've reached the end. I have almost nothing left on one of my strings. It's not enough to cross it over again, so I'm done. Give your braid a gentle tug and it should smooth out and stretch out some, and it'll be about, I don't know, about this long. And now it's time for us to figure out how to finish this thing. We're gonna have to take it off the ring, off the kumihimo pattern. So put your thumb right here so you don't accidentally unbraid any of it, and pull all of your laces out of the little holes. And then gently remove it, again without losing any of your knots. Now, that second piece of embroidery thread, we're going to tie a nice tight knot here so that we don't lose our nice braid. There we go. Now that it's tied off nicely on this end, it's time to join the two ends together. We're going to do that by taking this jump ring, the large jump ring, and actually wrapping it around all of that. And then tying it all nicely together using the 12-inch cords that we had at the beginning. So take your large jump ring, and we're going to open it up as wide as we can. So you're going to want to twist it and open it as well. I'm going to bring these two ends together. Go around all of that. And then we're going to cinch it together as tight as you can. So just to give you a closer look, I went around my original starting bit and the end here. And now I'm going to use the pliers to tighten it as far as I can. Smash it down nice and tight. Okay, so now that we have our metal ring in place, as tight as we can get it, holding that leather in place, now we can take out the red strings. So grab your scissors and cut off the red strings. Now they got all wrapped up in there with the cords. Okay, that's out. And the first red string as well. Just be careful not to actually cut your cord as you're cutting off the embroidery string. All right, so we got this. This is rather unattractive. If you have long pieces sticking off at the end, you may not actually need those 12-inch pieces that we cut at the beginning, because you can actually use one of these to do your finishing touch. So let me see what it looks like if I leave one of those on there and cut off the extra. You want to cut it off just above where your ring is. Like so. Now, you can use that leather cord to wrap around and around to make a nice attractive wrap to cover up the end of our strings. And on that last one, loop it under itself. So you've got sort of a bit of a knot like that. Oh, I still have embroidery thread in there. Get off that. There we go. Now you can secure that in place with super glue if you'd like, or try and weave that piece down under the other strings using the pliers or a long pokey thing. I don't know, like a skewer or a toothpick might work. You can take one of those 12-inch pieces of leather cord. I'm going to leave one end hanging down here that I can knot on later. And just sort of wrap it nice and tight and smooth all the way down to cover that metal ring that we made. Then we can tie these two ends together. And now you've got your lovely key ring.